Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter. I whiffed on it.
Did you? Okay, I thought
did.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you whiffed or
I did,
if you're just doing the pause to acknowledge that it's just me and you today. No Liz or no Steve, but whatever. You see, you could have whiffed, and I would have never known. So
I know.
Sometimes you're your own worst enemy, my friend.
Indeed.
Hey, how you been? I feel like it's been a while since I've been here. The summer we took a little bit of a summer break and had a few weeks without a show. How's it been going?
Well, we've been carrying on for the most part. You skipped a show where we had your boss come on and host for us, so that worked out well.
Yeah, I guess I haven't been on since then. Yeah. Well, it's funny too because I had to edit the show, and then I listened to it and edited it, and I was like, man, this sucks because I kind of wish I'd been there, but. No, it was good. I had a nice break. I just sort of disconnected from everything for a while, which I hadn't done for a few years, actually. I was kind of overdue for a nice 2-week break from everything. Just had a little bit of a staycation. Staycations are nice. Like, I find that you become a tourist in your own city, and it's cool. Like, I went to Stanley Park. I went to, Commercial Drive. Did all these things in Vancouver that usually tourists do, but I did them as a resident. It was cool. You wander around and do something on a Wednesday morning, which often you get to do when you're in the 9 to 5 grind. So yeah, it's nice. And then you have no stress, none of that travel stress or anything. So yeah, I feel relaxed and full of energy.
That's awesome. So you're ready to pound the show for the next few months.
That's right. Yeah, let's go. Well, I know I see that next week you've scheduled 2 8 a.m. shows, so you're really going to be putting that to the test. So that'll be interesting, but that's a next week problem.
That's right.
This week, however, I'm excited. So let's get things started. Rye, what the heck are we doing today?
Well, today we are speaking with co-founder Christopher Toth from XR Navigation. We've previously had Brandon Biggs on, who is the CEO. So today it's nice to have Christopher with us. Chris, welcome to AT Banter.
Hey, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We are excited to chat with you, but I'm anxious to sort of hear what you guys have been up to and some of the improvements, and to just sort of refresh our audience's memory about XR Navigation and what you guys do there. So why don't we start there and just give us a little bit of a sort of a brief overview of what you guys are up to over there at XR Navigation.
Absolutely. So we build Audiom, which is the world's first accessible digital map viewer. And so what that means in particular is a lot of listeners are probably familiar with a bunch of audio games. And audio games are a pretty popular thing in the blind community that a lot of us use that kind of replicate a lot of the same behaviors that sighted people use in video games. And we've kind of developed a lot of these over time conventions that we use in audio games for how do we explore worlds and understand information and stuff like that. So what we've done at XR Navigation is we've taken a lot of these ideas, a lot of these tropes from audio games, and we've applied it to real world data. We've been able to take it and make it possible for you to explore everything from your own neighborhood to higher level information like census tracts, all accessibly through 3D audio, using a lot of these ideas developed in the audio gaming community.
In its simplest form, I guess, can you kind of describe how this all works, or maybe what the experience of somebody who's using it would be like?
Absolutely. Not only that, but you can actually go try it for yourself right now for free, just by going to our website, which is audiom, audiom.net, and entering your own address there. So essentially how this works is we have built, think of it like a screen reader for maps. Maps have all kinds of different complex information on it, shapes and locations and all this sort of stuff. And we've been able to take this information and project it into a accessible 3D audio world that you can kind of walk around with a little avatar, we call it. And if you enter your own address on that website I just mentioned before, you can essentially walk around in your neighborhood. If you use, like, for instance, you can hold down the control key and press arrows to jump in any direction between buildings, or if you just want to walk at sort of like a 1 meter resolution, just like as you would walk around step by step, you can just use the arrow keys and walk around. And you can say, hey, how far is this from the street? Or how large is this parking lot? Or all those kind of questions that you want to really understand before you go exploring a location. Or say, I just recently moved into a new location here in Colorado, and I want to figure out, okay, where am I now relative to my old dentist? Because I think I can walk there now. So I can go just enter the address and explore walking on the streets and really explore meter by meter, step by step if I want to. Or, oh, I already know this building, so let me just jump directly out this building, this building, this. Okay, I see where I am. That kind of like high level thing. So you can really get that overview that we really couldn't get before. And not only that, but you can also zoom in and really understand the precise details of how things are laid out.
So, Christopher, in its simplest form, would we be able to, or is it fair to compare it to something like Soundscape or Voice Vista when it comes to the audio portion of it?
So those tools tend to be a lot more for while you are exploring in real time, whereas this is meant currently for a little bit more of what you might consider pre-trip planning. So like I mentioned before, whereas the dentist relative to my current house or my location where I am, sort of fixed points as opposed to dynamically trying to update. So this is a lot more for trying to explore a location before you go there.
Okay.
Another cool thing that we've been working on is now that we've got this underlying mapping technology, like I described it before, it's like a screen reader for maps. Well, there's a lot of maps that have data associated with them. Think of anything from like how much COVID is in a given county to like, who won, which which party won which district by how much, or all this kind of data out there that sighted people take for granted. Well, we now have access to be able to essentially sonify that information. We can take it and turn it into sound and tell you, okay, you can actually hear in real time while going over, this is how much of a given quantity is in at a given set of coordinates or whatnot. So it's a very powerful system.
It is kind of interesting. I think a lot of people take the idea of digital maps for granted, like you mentioned. Why do you think that is? Like, why has digital mapping historically been such a challenge for developers to make accessible?
Fundamentally, it's just a hard problem. My co-founder, Brandon, he's getting his PhD in human-computer interaction, and he's been working on this problem for at least 10 years and filed a couple of patents and stuff like that. And it's just a hard problem trying to figure out, well, how exactly do we communicate this almost inherently visual information in a nice, accessible, auditory way? And I think that we've really done a good job of cracking that, especially in our most recent version.
Well, and as you mentioned, I think sonification is appropriate for something like this. We recently spoke to somebody who was sonifying the galaxies, stars, pulsars, all that sort of stuff, and putting it to music. So being able to do something in a similar fashion with mapping kind of makes sense.
Any kind of, really any time that you can take that sort of lower dimensional data and then transfer it spectral-wise or anyway otherwise like that, it's pretty awesome to be able to make it accessible for us.
Have there been any sort of technological leaps in terms of, like, I don't know, we always throw out the example of AI, but anything really, like, say that a technological leap that we've made that kind of made this possible, or at least a little bit easier to do?
A kind of mundane one that really is kind of underrated is the rise of good 3D audio in web browsers. That's really something that was a major unlock in the 2014, 2015 timeframe that really made it possible to make a lot of these new web-based applications. Otherwise, Audiom would have to be some kind of a downloadable thing, and you couldn't have like an easy phone and PC version. Currently, it can run on your Mac, on your Windows PC, on your iPhone, pretty much wherever. And that's because it runs on the web. And having access to easy 3D audio on the web is definitely a major unlock for us. AI really hasn't been as exciting as I'm a big AI booster and we use it a lot for development stuff, but
Right.
it really has not performed, especially for any kind of like critical mapping thing where you really need to be right. It has not performed very well, especially for like we've been using it or trying to use it in a couple of different count the number of whatever kind of feature on this map or stuff like that. My current research project is around like here I'm in a neighborhood, now let's take a satellite view and maybe turn that into a thing and just get a description of that with an AI just to get a whole bird's eye view of where are. But in general, it's so difficult to ensure accuracy, and the current systems are not sufficiently accurate. So we haven't really been able to integrate AI well with our mapping.
I'm beginning to wonder, and I've heard on a few other podcasts, that because of the hallucinations and some of the inaccuracies with AI, that it's about to destroy our trust in the possible potential of AI. What are your thoughts on AI hallucinating and our trust in it?
It's really an interesting thought. So, one of the major issues, obviously, is that in the early days, the hallucinations were really bad. And I think one of the, like a lot of words have been written about how GPT-5 isn't that great or whatever else. Well, I've seen just in coding with it and stuff like that, the hallucination rate for 5 has gone down significantly. And also, even with using Claude Sonnet and things like that, I do think hallucinations are somewhat of an overblown thing that, yes, they do hallucinate, but people are learning more and more where to use them.
Right.
What I do think is not so much hallucinations, but sometimes we really haven't cracked a lot of the modality. Like, how does a multimodal LLM represent a map? It's a whole bunch of tokens, essentially. And those tokens represent, image tokens for whatever things. That process, that very tokenization process might be lossy, or there might be any number of issues that really need to get solved before we can really start to use it for all sorts of things. But I don't know that it's a complicated and weird thing, because obviously the public is using it right now, and the public's learning, oh, maybe ChatGPT lied to you once, and so you don't trust AI. And I don't really know. The proof will be in the pudding, I guess, as with all things.
Right.
So now you yourself are visually impaired as well. Is that right?
Yes, I'm totally blind.
So talk to me a little bit about sort of the environment at XR Navigation and the development process, because I really feel like we talk to a lot of developers, a lot of people who are working on things, and over the years, I just get the sense that it's just different when you have people on the development team, when the development team is closely working with any sort of a disability community. It's just a different environment, and you get a different type of product as a result.
Well, it absolutely pushes accessibility as a core value for us, because obviously we have to be able to use the software that we're developing. And so if it has to be accessible for us to use it, we can't release any half-baked stuff that we can't ourselves use. And consequently, obviously, everything that we ship is going to be extremely accessible. But even outside of just the core screen reader use cases and stuff like that, it makes us pay a lot more attention to how does our software work for instance, deafblind users or anybody else. Being audio first, we did have to solve quite a few problems to make sure that it worked perfectly with a Braille display. And there are a lot of things that I think that if you don't have that on the team, if you aren't like thinking about those edge cases by default because you don't have that internal SME or whatever else, you're just not going to have that development is not going to happen. And obviously, as we all know, it's a lot harder to retrofit accessibility later.
So can you maybe walk us through what the requirements are? I know you mentioned it runs on the web, but you mentioned Braille as well. So do you need a screen reader like JAWS, NVDA? Do you need a Braille display? Is it working with the new multi-line Braille displays?
We are actively exploring right now, working with the Monarch and stuff like that. We don't quite work with the actually putting the image on there yet, but we do work with the general Braille. So you do need a screen reader if you're going to use a Braille display. You do not need to use a Braille display or a screen reader. It will work with WebTTS. It will work with, I prefer to use it with my own screen reader just because we are, all used to our own voice settings and whatnot like that. And so what I tend to do is as soon as I go to audiom.net and load a map, I'll hit the / key and then I'll switch it to using my screen reader. And then everything. So as you go over, for instance, as you're exploring your neighborhood or whatever, you might be arrowing over your own house and it'll read your address. Well, then you maybe control arrow, say left, and that will jump you to the west, which might be to a street or to another house or whatever is near you. And it will read you the new address or the new street or whatever feature that you've just now landed on. So it essentially gives you the ability to explore and really understand how are things spatially located. And then you press the P key and you turn on sounds and you hear everything around you starts making sounds. So if you've got like a bus stop, for instance, the bus stop will start making sounds like a bus, and roads will make sounds, and a church will have church bells, and so on and so forth. You'll get a full auditory experience that'll really help you understand how are things related.
So did you find adjusting to an environment like that? I'm totally blind myself, and I'm a AT distributor, so we sell the Monarch. I've had my hands on the Monarch. You put a picture of a 10-speed bike on there, I can't tell you it's a bike. So, I lost my sight later in life. How did you find adapting to that sort of interface?
It definitely it is a little bit of a learning curve, like all things, but just like your screen reader takes a little time to learn, and you get better with it and better with it. But even when you first start using it, it's a whole new world. You can suddenly perceive stuff that you could not previously. Well, Audiom gives you a very similar night and day experience. And yes, that day will get brighter. You will continue to learn more and figure out how to use the darn thing to really well. But even once you can first access a map, I think it's kind of a revelation. It's like, wow, this is really cool. And you do really, especially once you start to relate, oh, I understand, I've walked this before, and you can really you make that connection in your head between, I know I've walked this path, and I hear this in audio, and then you're like, oh, I always wondered what was over there. And then you can just go doot, 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 and go check that out. Or another use case, we were at a CES presenting this, and I needed to find where is our exhibit, and we had the whole exhibit hall and everything else done as a map. So I was able to just figure out, oh, if I just walk down along this one wall, make this turn, walk along the three tables down, there we are. And I'm able to see that just looking at the map. And that's such a superpower. Like, I don't know, like, obviously most places you go, you're not going to be able to request a Braille map or anything else. And the fact that this just kind of works automatically and transparently with that's another kind of one of the pieces. We built this very much standards compliant around existing mapping technology. So if there are maps out there, we can essentially make them work with our system. It might take a little conversion or a little fiddling, but if the data is out there, we can actually work with it. And that's where we really are different than things like Soundscape or whatever else that are just based on OpenStreetMap data. We can use that data but we can work with really anything. I've been recently working with trying to get us to work with Esri, which is a major mapping provider. Esri data, which is used by all the states and governments and stuff like that for all kinds of things, wetlands in Wisconsin and so on and so forth. Just there are so many maps out there that we can just now perfectly understand, and it's pretty powerful.
Is this something that orientation and mobility instructors could use or request a map to be done for a client to learn
100%, absolutely. And actually, one of the things we've been considering is a sort of multiplayer mode, so that a O&M instructor could kind of walk a route with you beforehand and really let you see it without even being in the same room with you.
Wow.
But yeah, we would essentially. So one of the cool things is now that we've built this technology, we really want people to be able to use it for all sorts of things. So one of the things we did was we set up an email page. If you go to Audiom, audiom.net/email, that page will let you essentially, we've pre-written some letters and stuff, and you can go ahead and fill in your own. And we've got a whole bunch of different companies there listed that all these people are people that provide maps like Google Maps or Microsoft, or, people that have their own maps that are currently inaccessible. So if you could go ahead and reach out to these people and say, hey, here's this mapping technology, y'all should maybe work with it. That's what we're really trying to get people to do. So you, as a blind person right now, you can go ahead and use it for free.
Right.
You can explore your own neighborhood, understand how it works, just check it out. But what we're really trying to do is get people to think of any, and like you just mentioned with the mobility teachers, if you are a mobility teacher, maybe you want to reach out to us and say, hey, can you work with, we'd love to work with you.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. That would totally, I think, ease people's anxiety about maybe going out for their first walk, right?
Or even just I think I know where I'm going, but could you just verify this with me?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the clients, because I was really interested at sort of the diverse nature of some of the people that you've worked with and that have implemented this technology. Could you talk a little bit about some of your clients and kind of give us some real world cases on how they have been, each of them have been using it and benefit from it?
Absolutely. We've worked with a couple of different universities. That's, I think, one of the ones I'm most proud of, because you'll find as a student, you'll go to first day on campus, and you go and you look at the map on the website is just completely inaccessible. Now what the heck are you going to do? And it's really nice to be able to say, here's my one class, and maybe I want to go figure out and grab lunch and then go to another class, or really plan out your route or whatever ahead of time. And so by partnering with a couple of universities, we've been able to make those maps actually accessible so that when a new blind student shows up, there's no discrimination. They can just directly use the exact same map that any other student would use. Because one of the nice things about our map, we didn't just make an audio map. It has a visual component. It's a full drop-in, essentially a component that anybody can put on their website. And it just makes it so that whereas before you might have an inaccessible map, well, now you have an accessible map. Along with the universities, earlier on, we've also worked with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory to do their campus map. We have worked with, I think we've done some prototyping around airline seat maps. We've done some work with a couple of different airports and some stadium stuff, just essentially anywhere that you might see a map on a website or a map in a mobile app or whatever. We're trying to put our map.
So what would the turnaround time be typically? I guess it'll depend on what you're mapping. But, I don't know, just take a university, for example. If you were to do one of the universities in Colorado, what would a turnaround time be?
So one of the really nice things is, like I said, we're essentially working with standard compliant GIS data. And so a lot of these people already have their maps in a data format that we can just simply import, and it's a matter of reading it in and we're done. So we've done a lot of the work up front. Sometimes we're going to want to do things like we can go a little bit further, and maybe if you want to go and since we have, I've mentioned before, 3D audio associated with things, mm-hmm. Maybe you want to have a custom sound pack that actually has field recordings from your actual campus or something like that. So that would obviously be a little bit more complicated. Or maybe your maps are in a really old format, like just in some old PDF or something else like that we're going to need to really vectorize and improve. But really, most people that have most maps made after 2015 are just going to work without any kind of, that's the beautiful thing about it.
Have you guys thought about the ability for end users to import their own maps and export something usable?
So the exporting is really where that comes. But yeah, absolutely. We thought about that a lot. And we have We are developing a product where people can essentially put in static maps that already exist, and we just serve that map. That's an existing product that we offer. In fact, we're doing that for the Magical Bridge playground in California.
Let's talk a little bit about sort of looking ahead and what your plans are. How and where do you see this you sort of being implemented, and what's some of the sort of the dream?
So every map right now on the web that we can't see, I really want to live in a world where I go to the New York Times and I see a
Yeah.
map, and I go to anything, see any news article. I go to a Craigslist page. I want to buy something. I go to anywhere that's got a map on it, and that map is accessible. I go to Google Maps, look up something that should be accessible using our technology. I go to Bing Maps, use that should be accessible using our technology. And so, really, we have built this system. You all can go play with it right now. You should check it out. Maybe we can include a demo or something else like that, or just
Yeah.
let people play with it and check it out. It exists now. Now I want people to, obviously we're going to still have things where we're going to iterate and we're going to make it better. And there's going to be new ideas. And like I said, like that satellite overview or things like that. But really what I really want to see now is scaling it out and distributing it and having more and more people actually using it. And that's where my call to action to y'all is, go check out that email page. Go, if you have anywhere that you have that currently has an inaccessible map, well, let's make it an accessible map.
And so that could be aquariums, it could be museums, it could be stadiums, it could be your city, anything like that.
Museums, literally anything where you've got, here in Denver, we've got a whole giant trail system. And I'd love it if that trail system had accessible maps, so on and so forth.
Well, so speaking of that then, so how easy have you guys made it for developers and websites and organizations to implement this technology?
Extremely. A lot of times it's literally just drop in what's called an iframe. So it's just here you go, just like you would for a Google Maps or anything else.
Wow.
Here's a little big piece of embed code. There you go.
Wow. So so there really is no excuse. It's not like you need to be a web developer or
exactly. You just take a little snippet of code and you paste it in there. Boom.
Perfect. Wow. Great. Based on your experience, I don't know what advice would you give other developers that are trying to create accessible text? Since you guys have taken this, something that was a very difficult problem, and you've managed to sort of overcome it. So what kind of advice would you give other developers?
Unfortunately, I've been there in the room in Fortune 50 companies and stuff like that, where people are making accessibility decisions, and a lot of those accessibility decisions often come from a place of a little bit of ignorance. And really having somebody in there that has the power to say, hey, maybe this isn't accessible and we need to think about accessibility first. If a lot of people will kind of say accessibility is important to them as even a core tenet to them and so on and so forth. But what you really don't see a lot of is C-level accessibility officers or accessibility really having that same, being able to block product launches, anything like that. It's something that has a lot of positive stuff said about it and a lot of action not really done about it. And so if you're going to commit to being accessible, you really have to have somebody in there that has the power to say no, that has the power to say, hey, this isn't accessible yet. We need to iterate. We need to work on it until it is.
Right.
And unfortunately, we have assistive technology organizations and companies who should know better and yet still drop the ball.
Yeah. I really this needs to go just mainstream. I think this just needs to be the new normal. This just needs to be the default. It always kind of amazes and incenses me when we develop technology like this, and then it doesn't just immediately get implemented everywhere just because people are lazy and they just want to do the same old. But anyways. Enough for that. Otherwise, this will just turn into like me and Ryan yelling at clouds again. The audience has had enough of that. Trust me.
Well, there is also awareness to be raised as well.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the old marketing thing is you got to hear about something 3 times or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are, maybe they've don't even know that maps can be made accessible, or maybe they're vaguely aware of it or whatever else. But
Right.
what really, really helps is when people actually, like actual blind consumers, actual people like me and you, reach out and say, hey, can you maybe look into using this technology? Because a lot of times they don't know it exists, and you got to really kind of bring it to their attention. A lot of times it's not malicious or anything else like that. It's just they don't know. And so that's really what I'm trying to get people to do is first go check out Audiom. Go to audiom.net, go play with it, put in your own neighborhood, go put in places you're familiar with, explore those, go places you're not familiar with, really explore, like, go check out Paris or something and just really kind of understand how is this all laid out. And then once you've really kind of gotten it and you really kind of are excited about it, check out that, like I said, audiom.net/email. Go pick, tell Google, tell Microsoft, tell one of those guys that we've got on that page, or even just somebody that that has maps that are not accessible. Tell them to contact us, because that's what we're really trying to do here.
Christopher, thanks so much for coming on and talking to us and sharing this, really incredible technology with us.
And Chris, is there an email list or a newsletter you guys send out? Because I'd like to stay up to date on the multi-line Braille support.
Absolutely. If you go to audiom.net, there is a thing to sign up for our newsletter right there.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks, and best of luck, and thanks for all the hard work.
Have a good one.
All right, you
All
too.
right, Chris. Take care. Sounds like it's a lock now. This technology feels like it's pretty much here and ready to go.
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like it could get any easier, and there's really no excuse for anybody who is touting or preaching accessibility to reach out and either get their municipalities, their museums, the art galleries, that turnaround time for something like a museum or an art gallery, I would think would be really quick, and boom, right? Word starts getting out. I can see maybe a bit of pushback from the big companies, the Microsofts, the Apples, the Googles. But to get some of the exhibits in your local area done, depending on costs involved, should not be that difficult.
No, not at all. Not when it's a line of code.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
You could do hotel chains. You could do cruise ships. Like, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. So
I got to go play with it again. I played with it a few years ago, and it was pretty cool hearing cars go by you and stuff because of the audio.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm excited. I haven't plugged in my neighborhood yet, but I'm going to do that tonight actually, and give it a shot. Yeah. And why not? Send some emails. I'm certainly, I send it to my local district here in New West, and you never know. It
costs nothing to send an email.
That's right. Yet. Maybe they'll monetize that. And I'm sorry.
Well, pretty soon you're going to need an ID to be online.
Oh, don't even get me started with all that nonsense. Okay.
It's coming. The UK has already kind of started. Thanks, Europe.
Between that and streaming. Well, yeah, YouTube has. Have you heard about this? What YouTube has started doing? So it's implemented.
Maybe.
Well, so it's implemented something called restricted mode.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
There's an algorithm. There's an AI algorithm that apparently will look at the content that you consume and will make a decision whether or not you're a teenager.
Oh, yes, I've heard
If
that.
it does recognize you're a teenager, then it will just automatically filter out videos that have to do with whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the part that kind of is ridiculous to me. It will, like anything controversial, so anything political, anything related to race or sex or, which I don't know, like, I don't think that that's necessarily a good idea. I mean, sure, maybe but I mean, what's explicit on YouTube? Like, really? Like,
well, again, it comes down to, and I guess it comes down to our rights. Like, if you're an adult, you can prove you're an adult, then you should have the right to see and do online anything you want to do.
Yeah, well,
right?
Yeah.
But now AI is even changing content on YouTube.
Yeah, well, it's just creepy. I don't like
Yeah.
that. I just don't like overstepping.
And that's what's happening around. I think we're going to
Need,
overstep and then we'll have to retract a little bit.
yeah, for sure. Like I just don't
Unless
like
they
something.
overstep and we just are oblivious to it.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I love AI and stuff, but
Hmm.
I don't need AI to be
Big
policing
brother.
that for me. And although I don't have anything to worry about
Yep.
because and any AI that isn't crazy, you could look at my feed and recognize that I am definitely not a teenager.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
no teenagers listening to Bruce Springsteen. Let me tell you. He's like, one look at my feed, like, oh, MSNBC and Bruce Springsteen. Yeah, there's a teenager.
Yeah, we're
Um,
definitely some interesting times ahead.
yeah, no, we are. We are. Yeah.
The
So
world is a changing.
lots to rant about. That's what I find of being off for a few weeks. I feel all pent up now. I feel like we need a good rant episode.
We can do it.
Yeah. Well, I know we can well do it. Just have to
October's Blindness Awareness Month. You want to do a rant month?
bore the audience to death with us ranting and yelling at clouds.
Or maybe we'll go live and we'll just let the audience
Oh, you and
partake in
me
our
are
rant.
live. Yeah, there you go. Well, who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen.
That's true. I could hit go live at any point and we could be online.
Yeah, well, next time I'll call you up to rant about something, you can
Go
just
live.
record it. Just go live right there.
But you do it on the phone. We have to
I know.
set it up
Well,
ahead of time.
yeah. Plan for an ambush of me. All of a sudden, I've gone viral.
That's right.
Like what are they with Philly Karen or whatever the hell the most recent
one.
Oh, some lady freaked out at a Phillies game because
Oh, is that right?
some dad caught a pop fly ball or something, or got to a pop fly ball before she did, and she demanded that he give it to her. She took it from the kid, and of course now that generated an entire internet turned on her.
Don't you love the society we now live in? It was
It's
so much
kind of
simpler when we were young.
in ways, in other ways, it's kind of entertaining. I
It
don't know.
is
It's-
entertaining.
It's fun to watch, people who are being bad humans get called out for it and not get away with it. I mean, that's gonna be refreshing. But
Yeah, indeed.
I don't know. The internet's for cat videos. That's it. That's what it should be for. That's the pure version of the internet.
GoodNewsNetwork.com.
There you go. Well, anything else to say about anything
Nope,
before we get the hell out of here?
that's it.
All right. Well, in that case, where the hell can people find us?
They can find us online at atbanter.com.
Hey, they can also drop us an email if they so desire at cowbell@atbanter.com.
And they can find us on Mastodon and Instagram and Facebook
Sure, Blue
and wherever
Sky.
they listen to their podcasts.
I had this thought too over the vacation. It's ridiculous how many social media platforms there are. Like everybody sometimes it feels like there's really only like three. But really, there's not. There's so much. Like let's just for fun. Let's figure this out. So there's
right.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, Facebook, Instagram, X,
Yeah.
Mastodon, Blue Sky,
Threads.
Threads. I mean, do we count Truth Social? I don't know. Whatever. Sure, I guess
Sure.
you do. Whatever.
Well, I guess you throw Discord in there. You could throw,
Sure.
if you want to throw chat apps in there, Clubhouse, Discord.
Telegram, isn't Telegram a thing?
I think it's a messaging app.
Okay, yeah, maybe the same with WhatsApp. I guess
Yeah.
technically that's not social media, is it?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like there's more. There's even more.
Oh, probably.
There's maybe about 10 out there.
Yeah.
That are big enough to to have a community. Just stupid. We need less.
Well, you can always choose which ones you want to be on or not be on, right? You don't need to be on everything.
Stop being reasonable, Ryan.
Well, it's kind of like somebody we know who took himself off Facebook because he kept getting pulled into all the social media stuff. It's like, well, it's on you. You dove into it head first.
And we won't name any names, Steve. But let's remember that he's also back on it. So
That's
back
right.
on it with a bullet.
And yeah, I guess, if you want to indulge, It's your right to indulge.
Listen, everybody needs some dopamine every once in a while, right? So,
yeah, but there's other ways to get that.
and it's true. It's true. Okay, well then I think that is going to do it for us this week. Big thanks, of course, to Christopher for joining us, and we will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions, as well as physical access solutions and augmentative communication aids across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com, or if you're in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, visit our storefront at number 106 828 West 8th Avenue in Vancouver. That's one block off Broadway at Willow. You can reach us by phone toll-free at 1-844-795-8324 or by email at sales@canastech.com.